Welcome Libra, it's your in-depth monthly horoscope for October 2024 for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. Please do take advantage of your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data. If you order it now, you can get the rest of year 2024 free, plus your life roadmap report and 30% off. On the screen now is the event chart right at the start of the month, and it's truly exciting for you because Mercury, the planet of communication, is just aligned with the Sun as we make our way into the new month. The reason for that is that as September came to a close, we had a cazimi, a Mercury cazimi, a superior conjunction with Mercury direct. That gives you the opportunity to showcase your individual ideas with flair, persuasion, confidence and singularity because, of course, the Sun is in your sign. When we have the Sun and Mercury together in the first house, it can be very much about initiation. So if there is something that's important to you that you want to bring to life, the next 6 months, not just this month, can be critical to the whole process. Now, if you want to understand this in terms of the eclipse season, please check out my special eclipse video by clicking on the link on the screen now. But what this gives you a chance to do is really concentrate on what's important in terms of your individuality. Because if we think about the lunar eclipse, which occurred across the 17th and 18th of September, it was in the sign of Pisces, which is, for you is about sacrifices. It's about discipline. It can be about where we have obligations and where we need to lean into the needs of others, be of service. But Neptune's been in that area since 2012, and that eclipse was very close to Neptune. If you've given so much of yourself that it almost feels like you're pouring from an empty vase, this particular solar eclipse is a reminder to take the power back, and that could mean setting some boundaries. And that is spoken of really in a symbolic way at the start of this month, with the moon being in your 12th house, which is deep, can be a bit reflective, maybe even a little withdrawn, but it is in an opposition with Saturn, which over the last couple of years has been making those responsibilities, that work, the load, the demand, that much more onerous for you. So as you come into this new month, you will need to really be clear, and that's where Mercury can help, about what you want to achieve, but you can't change the fact that some people could still have a set of expectations for you, or perhaps it's the lifestyle that you've set up, particularly if it's quite work orientated. And if that has meant within all the giving and energies that you've put into supporting others, that you've been putting your individual needs second, that's what you're being asked to redress this month, but also over the next half year. Now, as the month begins, your ruler Venus is in a great part of your scope for money. If you are negotiating something, Venus forges a very strong link by Saturn by the end of the first week. You could seal the deal, and that can give you an enormous uplift to take you forwards this month. But on the 9th, the planet of fortune, Jupiter, which is in the part of your scope very much to do with travel, expanding your horizons, anything to do with independence, higher education, but also anything to do with agreements, that also goes into a retrograde for 4 months. But it is still going to forge an amazing link with your Sun right at the heart of this month. So don't believe just because of the retrograde that nothing can go forwards in a fortunate way. It's just not as simple as that. For starters, it depends on where Jupiter's retrograde in your natal chart. It starts its retrograde at 21 degrees, but if we're talking in terms of the ascendant, the Sun or the Moon, I feel that Jupiter retrograde is just going to ask you to think more of the Pisces Jupiterian energies, be a bit more thoughtful about the deeper meaning of things, less actually physically outgoingly positive, but it doesn't mean to say it still can't support you. Now, from the 12th through to the 17th, Venus, your ruler, is in an opposition with Uranus. You could find yourself in a surprisingly impulsive mood. Perhaps it is going to be a must-have item that you set your eyes on. Once your gaze is locked in, it could prove to be irresistible. But equally, of course, Venus can be about relationships. And in your second house, it can be about intimacy and sensuality. Uranus, however, is in the part of your chart which is to do with where you'd be most sexually or intimately connected, and therefore there's a paradox with that, because ever since March 2019 you may have found it quite difficult to maintain that closeness to one person, or perhaps more than one person, because there's another part of you that wants to get in touch with what's really deeply psychologically the reality for you. So that's been a bit counterintuitive to that other side of your nature, which naturally likes to relate well and get on well with other people. So it could be a little bit of excitement or impulsiveness at the heart of this month, but equally you could have a quarrel about money if you and a partner see things in a very different way. Pluto goes direct on the 12th. I think because Pluto affected Librans so strongly since 2008, and since the 2nd of September round to now has been in retrograde in the 4th house, there may have been some stuff to do with deep emotions and family that may have come up again. However, on the 13th, Mercury moves into Scorpio, joining up briefly with Venus, and that could give you a bit more desire to make the financial situation work quicker for you, because Mercury is about our thinking, but it does clash with Pluto, and Pluto so late in Capricorn, it's almost like a second fifth house square, which can see us again tempted to do something quickly on impulse. It can also see us fancy a flutter. The fifth house can be about speculation. So if you are tempted to do something quickly, very important to get all the information. But then on the 17th, there is a full moon in your opposite sign, but it squares up with Mars in a very authoritative part of your chart, as it will be through to the 4th of November, and then again from the 6th of January through to the 18th of April. Mars in the 10th house is giving you added oomph, but it's also giving you greater desire to have your voice heard, to raise your profile, but also to be more self-confident about your worldly interactions. But that could mean that you encounter someone such as a line manager, could be a friend, could be a family member, even a partner, who's not, as you see it, tuning into what you think or respecting where you're coming from. And that can create quite a lot of tension for us all, to be honest. But on the 17th, Venus for you moves into a glorious location. It moves into Sagittarius, which can be about higher truth, but for you the 3rd house is about quick communications, and the svelte energies of Venus gives you a chance to say how you feel, but with a fair degree of diplomacy, at least initially. But the 22nd, the Sun joins Mercury and moving into Scorpio, your 2nd house, and that desire to really get your resources working efficiently is going to be strengthened, but that too squares with Pluto. Pluto and Sun angles can create obsession, but also a singularity of purpose. But also it can see people taking very entrenched views, because will or power is a big part of the dynamic. So you may find that someone that you're working with doesn't have an understanding of where you're coming from, your values, your principles, and it could be someone you're fond of, and you may have to have a tussle about it, which could be borne out by Venus's square with Saturn as the month comes to a close. That's an aspect that can be a relationship breaker in some situations, and also Mars goes into an opposition with Pluto at the end of the week too. You've got to be careful if you're pushing hard to gain that extra respect that you feel you deserve with Mars in Cancer, that you don't push so hard that something gives to the point of breaking. And so that's a potential with Mars opposite Pluto, because it's going to make everyone potentially quite bloody minded. For you, because Mars is in such a dominant position, but in a sign which is not where it's at its best, you could overestimate your authority and not recognize enough your needs and emotions, and perhaps even vulnerabilities, which could be borne out by Pluto. So don't force things too hard, but essentially the start of this month is very much about injecting an ongoing plan with greater determination and drive, starting something fresh and new, and you can, with Mercury's help, really gain traction quickly. Jupiter still forges an amazing link with your Sun at the heart of this month, so there could be some kind of collaboration that develops, but equally something that isn't working around a relationship is likely to show up in the latter part of this month, and you just need to use the position you're going to take, the responses you're going to take in a proportionate way, or something could get a little bit too tense, which isn't for anyone's benefit. And this is where your natural ability to try to keep a sense of equilibrium can be such a gift to you, for sure. Have a great month, Libra, and do please check out that year 2025 personal horoscope forecast offer. You'll get the rest of this year free, but also 30% off with your life roadmap report, all based totally on your unique birth data, and great value too. Please see the link below for more.